Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Austin with WolfPac-Outdoors, and you're listening to the Outdoor Adventures podcast. Today's sponsor is myself and my wife. We bust our butts to bring you this content, and we're also supported by you, the listener and the viewer. All of your subscribes and all of your views genuinely do help our channel and helps us bring you better content. So we're here today with Allyn Pierce of the Pandra, and he is a bona fide family man, a nurse, was a merchant marine in the past, engineer.
Mechanical engineer.
Is there anything that you haven't done?
No. there's so many things. My ADD has played strongly in my life.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. For the people that don't know your story of the incident that occurred, do you mind if I just give them the abridged notes?
Yeah, please. That would be amazing.
Okay. And correct me if I get anything wrong, but I think I've got the story down. So November 8th, 2018, you wake up, you go to work, you're at work, and there's a fire that starts down below Paradise.
It's in Olga. I don't know where that would be. Paradise, maybe like northeast, maybe? I'm trying to remember. I can't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe slightly northeast of Paradise.
Yeah, and then you and your associates realize that a fire's coming, and so you start evacuating everybody.
Yeah, within about an hour and a half after the after I first knew about it, we were evacuating.
Right. And so once you get them evacuated,
We were all evacuated, I mean.
then you begin to head down the hill with some people in your vehicle. You guys kind of get trapped in a little spot, and finally you get a clearance enough to where you're able to turn around, come back, and once you get to the hospital is kind of when the real work began, because you started doing triage for triaging patients.
Yeah, we set up a triage for patients, for people showing up that needed help. It was kind of cool. We had that's just normal emergency management stuff. But the team we had there was pretty amazing. We had, just even physicians-wise, we had a surgeon, we had a pediatrician, we had an anesthesiologist, we had an ER doc that also done military, done physician work in the military. So she was really helpful in like kind of setting up the triage in a way that, like, a lot of patient care is reducing anxiety, and to set it up in a way that looked like, okay, we are ready for you guys, whatever we need to do.
Exactly.
And that was just so helpful.
Well, I bet. And so after you guys started setting up triage, then the fire got more intense. The hospital caught on fire. You guys had to take a temporary refuge area out by the helipad because it already burnt over.
Yes.
And after that occurred, then you guys were able to transition everybody from the hospital down to the valley.
They were able to get Pence Road open, the road that, one of the main roads out of Paradise, and the one that the hospital's on, open enough that we could kind of do a spread out caravan, dodging down trees and hanging electric poles and just strange things. It was a weird video game, like, that whole day. So
yeah, it really is. As you know, I'm a firefighter, right?
Yes.
And so it's a very strange experience. It's very surreal to be inside of the chaos and manage through it, and obviously remain calm. And then you're going to see things that you probably don't want to see, but it's you're just making it out, right?
And this is a strange one, because even in this particular case, which is not the normal, the firefighters didn't know where to go.
Right.
Like, we had people pulling out of the hospital. One of the reasons the parts of the team and I got stuck were because we were a bunch of the leaders, and so we got all the patients out, then we got our teams out, and then so that meant we were the last on the road.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of the people before us all got out. But then, it just had gotten worse by the time we were on the road. And that was the difference of minutes. Like, like 5-10 minutes, maybe. Like, so because everything was so chaotic, and some of my team were pulling out, and they were like, do I go this way or this way? And people couldn't tell them.
No, not at all.
Literally, they'd say, I don't know.
Yeah,
because
a lot of that.
Everywhere.
A lot of that relies on, like, if you're asking the fire personnel, because they're all talking to each other on radios. They're like, this way's good, but apparently everything was kind of just there. Everything was just blacked out.
Even talking to you about it gives me chills, because there was no good way.
Right. There was and that's kind of what happens is, like, things just shut down, and you work in your immediate area of what you can manage. Right.
Yes.
And so.
And I mean that's kind of any kind of emergency. You take the small steps and make a decision, move forward, make a decision. And
exactly.
So, it's like I'm sure what firefighters have to do in certain situations.
Oh, of course. Okay, so you get down the hill. And then, and I don't want to, if we want to talk about it more, we can, but I'm not trying to glaze over it. But basically, you get down the hill, you transfer care, and then you go home, see your family, and then you realize that your truck's burnt up. Is that how it?
We got down the hill. I got into Oroville, and the road that the main road that usually goes to Chico from Oroville was shut down because the fire had reached down there and was crossing that road.
Right.
So I had to drive down to Oroville, and I used Google Maps to find like this dirt road in between the 70 and the 99, which like through this like farmland or something,
right.
and had to cut across like. And I got all the way. I'd seen the truck like when I was up there, but I hadn't really looked at it because we had people showing up and we needed to take care of them.
Yeah.
So I went down to the incident command center for our hospital that had been moved to Chico, right at the bottom of Skyway, and I reported off all the people about how many people we were taking care of. I didn't have names on them, but I had the names of the people from our team that were up there that had evacuated.
Okay.
Because most of the other people had headed straight to Enloe for treatment. And me being in the truck, I was only as exposed to smoke as I was, when we're at the hospital and whatever the cabin filter let through.
Okay. And so after the fire blows through and you're down there and you're decompressing with your family, at what point is somebody reaching out to you going, we want to give you a truck? And that's probably a terrible way to transition, but I'm just curious as to like.
Yeah, I mean, people are like outside of that are definitely curious. It was, and I got to, because I'm now friends with some of the people at Toyota, I got to hear it from that point of view too. Like they were just getting a couple. I want to say like maybe a couple days after the fire, I was like just sitting around and I was like, oh, I have this cool picture of my truck.
Yeah.
Which I'd gone to that incident command in Chico, and I came out and I'm like, oh, the Paradise, the smoke looks like the same color as my truck at that time. It was like it had this very orange tone before it rained like several days later. It had this cool like orange yellow perfect marshmallow tone.
Yeah, is that when that picture came out?
That's when I took that picture.
The main picture?
Yeah, I dropped down to one knee because that's how you take pictures of your truck.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is crazy looking. And you can actually see from one of the people that left my truck to go to the fire truck, she dragged one of my kids' blankets out that I always keep blankets in the back of the truck.
Uh-huh.
And well, you can see the little triangle of it sticking out of the side of the truck, like out of the front door. She had tried to get out the rear door, but it kind of welded shut from the heat, and so she had to crawl out the front. And yeah, I just came out and saw the picture. I snapped like 2 or 3 pictures, and then I was like, I'm gonna go see my family.
Yeah.
And I drove up, and that was actually the more like rough part because I got there to my in-laws' property, and I pulled up, and I didn't realize I'd totally forgotten I'd pulled up with the burnt side of the truck showing.
Oh, okay.
And they were coming out, and then they saw the truck, and then they started running like they didn't know what I looked like inside.
Right.
And I got out, and I'm like, I'm fine. That's where a lot of the guilt, like as a parent, you try everything to make your kids feel safe that you're always going to be there, and I'm glad I'm wearing sunglasses right now because that still moves me a bit. It was a little tough to put my kids through that. Whether I know it wasn't my choice, but it's you still felt bad.
Oh yeah.
As a dad to you're like for your kids to think that you were gone.
I can absolutely relate with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's tough. There's times when I'm out on fires and I can't get back to the family, or my wife's texting me and she's like, "How's it going?"
You don't have time to
and I'm
write
like, "Things are crazy. I'll get back to you when I can." And then it's like, well, you don't send that text because then she just it just makes you go.
It's better almost not to write.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so and that's kind of what the situation was. I didn't know how good it was, so I would like the cell towers were kind of down anyway, so I didn't really have any signal to speak of.
Right.
And I didn't want to say everything was going to be okay when I didn't know. I just told her the one little bit of time I got to talk to her, I'm going to do everything I can to get out of here.
Right.
That's
insane. Yeah.
So jumping ahead to a couple days later, I was still in and out of meetings, but like I had a little more downtime.
Right.
And I was sitting there flipping around Instagram, and I'm like, oh, and I'm flipping through my pictures, and I was like, oh, this is a sweet one. The colors were amazing. And so I wrote it as like, oh, this is my Toyota commercial. And I wrote it like that. And with no, you have to realize I was writing to like 130 people.
Okay.
Like mostly other Tundra owners from like Arizona and like everywhere else. Might have been someone like you, like
me. Yeah.
Yeah, and like and I'm like, this is my Toyota commercial. It got me through the fire twice, and I made, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until like a day or two later that it was blowing up. Somebody from Chico had gotten a hold of it, put it on her Facebook, and then it got just shot all over the world. Like literally, I was getting messages, texts. Some people were getting a hold of my phone number and like texting me from Iran and like weird, like all South America, and I'm getting messages on all different places, and it was getting a little overwhelming. One of my best friends, he's like, hey, he was like, he would check on me how I was doing. He's like, let me manage your this all the media stuff, like, because now I was getting media requests because it's a good story.
Wow. It is
in the middle of all the bad.
It was one of those times where
they needed a good story. They needed something good.
Well, it's complete selfless service too. There was no, I mean, from my point of view, there was no like, I'm doing this for a reason other than to help other people.
Well, you're a firefighter. The public is your patient.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, my patients and my team are my number one. Like and I'm not trying to be like hero or anything, but I've always been taught from my dad, who was in the military, from my merchant marine background. Right. When you're in charge of someone, that is the ultimate number one responsibility before yourself.
Yeah.
The captain goes down with the ship, all of that. So there was a reason I was one of the last people to walk out of the hospital. And when I was walking through the parking lot, I didn't even get in my truck until all my team was on the road.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't even let them talk to me. I'm like, just stay ahead of me and get in. Because all I can think is like, I've got to do everything right. Like I don't, if this all ends, I need to make sure I did everything correctly. And to like whatever my knowledge and training and experience has been. So, because if I don't think like that, I'd freak out and run around in circles. So I had to go with, you just go with your training.
Yeah.
So exactly. And people think I'm laughing and having a good time and joking around, like which you do when you're in a stressful situation, and when I'm sure you do when you're with your firefighting team and everything.
Yeah.
That's just what you do. You joke around, but everything is the job, and as long as you are doing everything like you're supposed to, there's nothing to stress out about because you've done everything you can do.
Yeah, exactly. But so how did the series of events end up unfolding for you? So we got to the point of now you're being contacted by people from Iran.
Like from everywhere.
Just everywhere.
I was like, I'm not going to return that one. I don't know when it would be on the list or something.
Yeah.
But they said really nice things. So I was getting contacted by like all different brands. So all the the outdoor brands, they're all kind of amazing because they're like like families own these companies, and they're like, oh, we want to hook you up with this and that. And I think I was telling you earlier, I'm like, I don't have a garage to put anything in. I don't have anything. Yeah. All I had was the truck, and I didn't even have my own clothes at that point. All I had was scrubs and my truck and a backpack. And so it was weird. Of course you want these things. These are the things I've always like, but at that point it's not that important.
No.
Like the whole house, I didn't know, I think at that point for several days. My brother-in-law happened to be the National Guard response, leading the National Guard response to that. So he actually was able to get me a picture of KFC burned down. Immediately following that, a picture of my house burned down because he's cool like that.
Right.
So I was like, hey, thank you so much. Because you have to realize I posted that to 130 people. I did not expect that to happen. This like kind of classic viral thing. So so companies also people were getting a hold of me to like build the truck. Okay. And people like SDHQ down in Arizona, just amazing people that I've bought products from, and they contacting me to build the truck or to or for parts. And then finally, I think Rockstar, Nick Ashby over at Rockstar got a hold of me, and he's like, hey, I think at that point, I'm not sure if Toyota contacted me yet, but either way, he's like, hey, we'll rebuild your truck. We'll get it back going, and we'll. And
that was with your previous truck. They were going to rebuild that.
That was the previous truck.
Oh,
okay. And you could be an ambassador. Like if you get a new truck, then we'll build that. If you want to keep the old one, we'll do that.
Yeah. So did that come with obligations too, though?
Well, I would just be an ambassador with them.
Right.
Which is what I am now.
Okay.
And being an ambassador with them is just literally just being around and like hanging out with a cool group of people that are also ambassadors.
Yeah.
And kind of being, I have to go on this adventure in Moab, and I have to go to
Terrible.
Utah and like go wheeling.
Please don't make me do that.
Yeah, I know. So I ended up going with him, and then somewhere within days around that, I got a text from I got a call from Texas, which I'd been getting calls from everywhere and just ignoring everything.
Okay.
But then I got a text on that, and he's like, "Hey, it's Tyler from Toyota. I want to talk to you." And I was just like, I had to pull over because I was like, "Whoa," and because everybody had been commenting on like, "Oh, give this guy a truck," but Toyota doesn't just give away trucks like all the time.
I wouldn't think so.
They had but so I pull over like some gas station. I remember I was on like the East Avenue exit, like getting off the freeway.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't be driving and talking to this person. So I call Tyler, who happens to be a female, Tyler.
Okay.
And she was awesome, and she's like, "Hey, we want to give you a truck."
Right.
And I was like, "Awesome." But my other head, my ADD head's like, "Hey, I put a lot of money into this truck." Like, and like, I'm literally saying this to someone that's giving me
yeah
$50,000 truck. And I'm like, "And what are we going to do with the taxes? I don't have a job. Like, my job was burned down when I left. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know if I can afford for you to give me a truck. Does that make sense? like, because taxes on that, could maybe 30%, whatever gift taxes are. And like,
oh, okay.
And so,
yeah.
And then she's like, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Like, we're giving you a truck. We'll figure it out. I'm going to do everything I can to not have a dime come out of your pocket for what we're doing for you."
Oh, wow.
And they did. They protected me. She protected me, like, from a social media standpoint. And like kind of, she handled all of the Toyota, like handled me basically for Toyota. And even through like when we'd go to dealer meetings, she would be literally my handler.
Oh, so she's telling you how to act, what to do,
Not
who
even
to talk
how
to?
to act, but where to go and like what we're going to be doing, and like,
oh, okay,
like, just picking me up at my room, or like making sure the car was at the airport. Weird like VIP stuff that happened for like the year after.
Oh, okay. That's wild. So is this like was this an unprecedented event?
Yes.
For Toyota to do?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like what they've given the $1 million Tundra. They gave away a truck for the guy who made, and then I think me.
Yeah.
The Pandra. And then I don't know if you heard about that guy Trey. I posted about him quite a bit, like in the Houston. I think it was in Houston. It was in Texas.
I missed it. Whatever it was.
Snowpocalypse.
Okay.
Where they had that big car accident. The big.
Yes.
And his FJ got rear-ended at full speed by a semi truck and did a flip, like a spin over the concrete barrier and landed. And he got out of this crushed vehicle. And he was on his way to his job as a paramedic, and immediately started like triaging people and helping people get to ambulances and stuff, to the point where the other first responders got there, like, "How'd you get here before us?" And he's like, "I was in that truck," and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
So check that out.
That's crazy.
I'll send you the link or something.
Yeah, I'll put a link below for that story.
And they got him a new. He had an FJ, but they got him a new TRD Pro for runner.
Well, that's amazing.
But he did amazing things. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. It seems like
he went right to his training and started doing his job. Like, even though he was doing it with like a little bit of a limp from getting just rammed at freeway speeds by a semi from a stop.
Yeah, no, that Snowpocalypse was no joke. It was pretty crazy. But that's incredible. And after the year long, did you notice that there was a lot of I don't know? Did things start to calm down for you? Did you guys rebuild your house?
No, we didn't rebuild. I had to get a job in Chico because the Paradise Hospital was shut down.
Yeah.
And half burned. And
how did you? So that's a lot of displacement, though. So how did that work out?
Well, somebody did a whole Control-Alt-Delete on our entire life. My wife worked at that hospital too.
Right.
Our kids went to schools in Paradise. One of the schools burned down. Our house burned down.
Yeah.
The job for both of us burned down. And the hospital wasn't going to be opening back up. So we had to find jobs, and I got a job doing pre-op, post-op at Enloe, and it's just an amazing team. Like 6 or 7 other people from my hospital that I've worked with, like, ended up on that same unit.
Oh, wow.
My ICU team, there was like 4 over in ER and like several up in the ICU there, and like spread out. And then all the way from like Hawaii out to Arizona to Idaho, like, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, they probably had to hire more people too, just because
Yeah, I
the
think
influx of not having that hospital
I think
anymore.
they had a 30% increase for over that year.
Okay.
So we're still seeing a lot of the same patients we had up there,
Right.
coming through for surgery and things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I got a job probably in a month later. I did the interview for the job, and I'm not normal still. I'm still seeing fire in the middle of the road. I'm still not sleeping well because, I jolt awake. I was
Right.
not built for what happened that day, even though it was like 6 hours of my life that everyone knows me for.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so I wasn't, I had some legit like post-traumatic stress. And I remember going to the interview, and I was like, I don't have a suit or anything to wear. And they're like, just come in whenever you want. I show up. I think I know one of the charge nurses. She used to work at at Paradise.
Yeah.
And like 2 of them are crying by the end of my interview. Like, they're like, why do you, so, they're doing the interview. They're like, so why do you want to work here? I'm like, I don't want to work here. I want to work at the job I had,
Yeah.
which I still had because they were still paying me, and I'm still operating under as a manager for all these people to get the information to them. I'm like, I don't want to work here. I want to work at my other job, but that's not there anymore. And
Yeah.
I hear this unit is good because one of my friends worked there. So I'd like to work in a place that's good. Like, it was,
That's pretty straightforward.
and it was very much like me, like asking. It was a strange interview because it was mostly me asking them about their culture, because that was really important to me in my ICU, that culture. Because
what do you mean by that for people not in the know?
just people, when you're working on a team and under a lot of stress, it's very important to have humor. It's very important to have like teamwork, people that back each other up.
Right.
Is there a lot of drama on the unit? I don't want that in my life. Like,
Yeah.
especially at that point, I didn't want that. But I did not allow it to spread on my unit when things, negativity and everything.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Good to hear. That's an incredible story, by the way. I mean, I've never heard some of the intricate details that you've talked about, and so it's good to hear them. So thank you for sharing. Can we make it a little bit lighter? So what are your favorite hobbies? Mountain biking?
Well, I've got a mountain bike on the truck right now.
Yeah.
As summer's getting kind of, spring and is kind of coming to an end. Summer's coming in, so paddleboarding's a big one for us.
Okay. Where do you go paddleboarding?
We have Lake Oroville is right here, so like we have the After Bay, the diversion dam, like all that. But then there's like lakes. We'll go up to Bend and Bend, Oregon, and there's lakes out there. It's amazing. They're amazing. It puts you like in these forces us to drive out to these areas that are pretty like remote at times, but very cool.
So does that remain as part of your kit on the truck? Is just your paddle boards there, ready to go?
We've got hard paddle boards.
Oh, okay.
And then I recently started working with Decathlon in the last year, like this big company that makes all kinds of sport like everything, like hiking boots to bikes to everything.
Oh, okay.
And tents, and they make inflatable paddleboards, so we're going to be trying that out this year.
Nice. That looks like the way to go. Then you can always have it with you, right?
Yeah, I can throw it in the back. I don't have to have it mounted on the roof and just blow it up when we get there.
What I'm getting from you is that you're sponsored, right? So you're sponsored by more than just the Rockstar Garage.
I don't know if I call it sponsored. I call it more partners. I'm not here making money, like talking to you. I'm not making money driving the truck around. But people do want me to work with them. And I want to work with certain companies who have good products.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up in Riverside, so getting to work with companies like K&N and Mickey Thompson is kind of like it makes my nerdy heart happy. Like I always wanted their hats with the with those Toyota colors. So it's rad to like be able to work with companies, and like in Toyota, I was. If there was anything I was indoctrinated with as a kid, is Toyota. Okay. Like my dad's, he's like, there's 2 trucks you want in the world. It's the Range Rover and the Land Cruiser, and I actually have a Land Cruiser. Oh, perfect. I have an FJ60. It's an 85. I was getting it worked on, so it was in Chico. So I still have it. Okay. It's still at my buddy's shop because I have nowhere to park it. And so I have that, and we've always had plans to get that one going again. Yeah. So getting to work with companies like Toyota, getting to work with companies like I think I was mentioning CVT, like the
Yeah.
rooftop tent company. The summer before everyone got to know me, I literally was in Bend with my wife, and we drove by. I made a point to drive by the old CVT shop up there. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, that's kind of what I'm planning to put on the top of the truck. So
Oh,
when we go
okay.
camping, because we already had the rack ready at some point to do that.
Right.
We had like a weld together rack we put on the old truck that you've seen.
Yeah, no, so I believe I'm a follower from the old tundras.com days.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely was watching your build. Like we talked before, I searched out people in my local area, and you were
Mm-hmm.
one of them. And so I just started following what you're doing because I had aspirations to do similar things.
Yeah.
Obviously, it turned out a little different, but those were bigger and
Yeah, I hadn't
bigger
even
ideas to
got
it.
sliders on that one yet because like I said, I was only building the truck for whatever trip I was going on.
Right.
And the next trip was
I think
Joshua Tree, so I didn't need it.
I think you had started talking about wanting to put sliders on that truck, though. You were like,
Yeah,
I'm going to get them fabbed up, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't come to fruition.
Well, I just didn't get to it.
Yeah. So as far as sponsorship goes, how would you give somebody advice? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there right now saying, I want sponsorship. I want to have my vehicle sponsored, or I want to do something with sponsorship or partnerships of some type. What would your advice be to them on how to do something like that, like you're doing?
I don't know. I think from talking to you earlier, you know that I'm not actually very good at approaching companies. I usually know someone that knows someone.
Oh, okay.
Or like with Dometic, like they had actually reached out to me after the fires, and I didn't realize it until I went to my DMs to write them back about something. I'm like, oh, they had offered me something before, but like I had so many DMs at that point that it got lost.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, usually someone I know. Like with Rockstar, I have certain brands that I work with, and
Right.
luckily they're in Temecula, so they work with a lot of brands I grew up around,
Oh, okay.
like Mickey Thompson
Yeah.
and so that was really cool. That I did look at who they work with, and I'm like, okay, this is
Right.
kind of what I want to do. And then there's other brands I work with, and like outside, like and I wouldn't call it sponsorships as much as like just like I said, like a partnership, like where
Right.
things I already wear, like cool pants,
Yeah.
like the cool clothing and the KUHL cool, and
Yeah.
American Giant, and it really kind of comes down to them reaching out to me,
Oh, okay.
and I'm just well positioned for that.
Right.
I think if you were going to do sponsorship, like I try to work with companies that I like that. When I talk about a company, liking a company or anything on my truck, I legit am into that stuff.
Oh, exactly.
Like if it's Max Tracks, it was something that I was looking at way before this. The CVT, I literally was like drove by their shop and
Right.
said like, this is what I want on top of my truck. And now I'm like friends with people in the company, and they're amazing.
Oh, that's
And they
great.
they do everything they can to like support their own team and like other people that are like they've given rooftop tents to like people that didn't have homes, and like it's,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would say work with companies that you are legit, like you like their culture of their company. Somebody work with people you respect, like anything in life.
Exactly.
I think that's number one beyond anything else. Like,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then what's the point? Like I wouldn't even want to buy from a company I don't respect. So why would I get free things from a company I don't respect?
Oh, exactly.
Because you're supporting them and supporting whatever message they're putting out to the world.
Yeah, the message kind of becomes your message.
Yeah.
And then
So like if their product's good, I want to be part of that.
yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that's great advice. So search out companies that you align with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also, like if you don't have a make sure, I know like when the people will ask to like, oh, I want to partner with you guys, and like that company will go check them out. I hear this from like the owners, and they're not even following them. Like that person's not following the company.
Yeah.
Or they'll send letters out like and they'll be like, and they'll forget to switch the name of the company from the
Oops.
last
Whoops.
letter they sent out.
Yeah.
So I do the work and present your best self. Like it's like it's a
Okay.
job interview.
Absolutely.
And then after that, everything you do online and everything represents them. So once you are that person
Right.
representing that company, be the best version of you, which the Pandra is definitely the best version of me and not all the F-bombs and everything else.
Yeah.
that me in real life may be.
Right.
When I'm hanging out with my friends.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself going next with the build, and then just like with the brand, the Pandra?
I'm working with this guy that's doing some renders for me. I think it's at I am Bazzy.
Okay.
Bazzy. IamBazzy. I'm pretty sure. He's amazing. He does like these amazing graphic renders, and he had these just killer forerunners on his page, and I've been following him for a while. And I was like, hey, do you mind doing some renders for me? So I've got some ideas. Like, I really love the FJ79s from Australia, which kind of your truck is kind of closer to that direction.
Okay.
With the flatbeds and the canopies and everything.
Yeah.
And I really dig those.
Oh, I love that look.
I love the modular nature of that.
Yeah.
Where you can take it off and have a flatbed, or you can put it on and have like storage and everything.
Yeah. It's so versatile.
Yes. Something that I could just drop some legs down and drive out from under it and like just be and like have a different whole different truck.
Oh, absolutely.
So I really love those. And then, but also I'm really into like I've kind of beat my truck a lot going too fast for how I built it. So long travel is definitely on my list of things that I really like.
Yeah.
And so there's some companies I'm looking to work with on that, without saying specifically who at this point.
So would you retain the bracket lift and long travel it, or
if I could figure out how to not do the bracket lift and just do it like the long travel as it were designed, and somehow manage to keep my 40s, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
That would be like my perfect world. I don't know how that's going to work.
Okay.
So I've got him doing some renders along both those in two different directions.
Right.
Like,
well, I don't see why you couldn't do an Aussie style build long travel.
Yeah, something like that.
Best of both worlds.
I just really like the Aussie builds are so functional.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they have more rules like that they can't go with the super giant tire, like lifts and everything. So I think they having those limitations forces them to be like make these even cooler solutions to problems and everything.
Yeah, they seem to be ultra creative, and I think that was one of the first people that I started watching was like the Australian style.
And definitely when I first saw your truck, I was like, oh, this is that's definitely one of the directions I've wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I would if there was a way for me to put like have a spare canopy at the house, I would when this was off, the canopy would be on. Yeah. With probably like a rooftop tent on top of the canopy. Just
so you
go anywhere and do
different
anything.
Versions and stuff.
Oh, exactly, because it's not that I wouldn't take the truck up some gnarly trails, but it's a little more like
center of gravity is a little higher, and
the whole
truck's a little higher.
It is. The center of gravity is way high, but we still manage. I mean, I feel like we take the truck to some pretty aggressive
I've definitely done some silly things in this truck. Like, I don't really love doing like really complicated runs in this truck because it is my daily driver. Like, before I got here to hang out with you, I was picking my kids up from school.
Right.
So I can't be like just thrashing it and have doors not open or something. So it does make me, like I do like the trails and like a little bit of obstacles. I'm not trying to scrape through canyons and do those things. I'm always hoping people ask me to go on like just chill camping trips.
Oh, that's good.
But I mean, I do have the rooftop tent, which will fit like two people, like you, because usually it's just me or me and one of my kids. Yeah. And then if we do the whole family thing, then my wife and I stay on the ground tent.
Oh, okay.
And the kids will crash in the rooftop tent, like so they can have their tree house.
Yeah. Do you guys? So you don't haul a trailer or anything? It's all in the back of the truck.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to haul a trailer. Like
okay.
Especially California, it's like you're limited to 55 miles an hour, really.
Yeah.
Or whatever, that little bit over. If I can keep everything within the bounds of the truck, like in my perfect world, I wouldn't even have the tires and everything hanging off the back.
Right. Where do you see yourself going with the brand?
I don't know. Like, I do have clothes, like some shirts and hats and stuff. Like, actually, I'm wearing one, I think, right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that I just did just for the heck of it to try it out. And I've got some extras, and I'm really need to be less lazy and like actually put them up for sale.
Right.
Because some people, a good amount of people have asked and like might be into it, and and the whole idea would not be even to make money. It would just be like donate. At this point, it would just be donate to different causes. Like I do a lot of my donations to North Valley Animal Disaster Group.
Okay.
They're the ones that come in and like rescue the horses and stuff after like the car fire, after the campfire and everything.
Right.
And chickens and and dogs and cats and whatever, or they feed them when they can't catch them, and and they go in like in the back end of these disasters and like save a lot of the animals and like and tried their hardest to get it back to their owners.
Okay.
So like I've definitely we did I don't know if you ever saw, but we did the pins of the old truck.
No.
Lean, this guy at Lean on Instagram, he makes these little pins. And he made like a little kind of cartoony version of the OG Pandra, and we like they sold out like in hours. Like
oh wow.
like but all that money like got donated to that, and then we did another run and like that sold out and it got donated.
Oh wow.
So it's just a cool way that I can help without going broke myself.
Yeah.
Because we still have to do our own family thing and pay bills and repair cars and.
Yeah, it's you're still a family, living normal family life.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
And like it looks like on Instagram that I'm on adventures every moment really, because I don't take pictures of myself at work.
Right. Yeah, I love the little memes or the videos of like my daily life and my Instagram life. Yeah. And one's all shiny and pretty, and the other one's just like
my truck's all and like I was like, do I wash my truck for that? I'm like, nope, I didn't have a chance to do all that.
No.
Like I didn't know how this was gonna work, so I was like, but really I'm actually happier when the truck's dirty.
Yeah.
So because it feels more like what it's supposed to be.
Is that a wrap on there or is it spray on?
It's spray on with a wrap over it.
Oh, okay.
So it's spray on bed liner. The entire truck's covered in bullet liner.
Oh, okay. So if we were to peel the layers off, it would
look like the old truck.
Oh, okay.
And I was not comfortable with that in an area where people were literally still driving around in burnt trucks and vehicles, and like not everyone was as fortunate as we were.
Well, exactly. And then there's got to be some part of you that it would just a reminder.
It's triggering.
It's a trigger.
It's triggering. It's super triggering, especially to my wife, because I said before, I pulled up in that, and that is not a good memory for her.
It's probably like the very moment where she was the most afraid of the uncertain or the unknown.
Yeah. There was the uncertain of me like not coming back, and then when I came back, then it was like the next uncertain of like what was I going to look like when I got out of that truck.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that moment because that was.
Whatever.
That's intense, though. I mean, that's the real stuff.
When she first saw the burnt version of the truck, it didn't go over well.
Yeah, no,
at all. For all the reasons everyone would understand.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so we did show it for a while like that, but this was the temporary solution, this wrap, and then that's part of the plan when I redo the suspension to get like all of that, like we'll respray the truck probably in white, and then somehow do vinyl, which the vinyl, except for that one part you're looking at on the D, like the vinyl's held up. The only reason that D even peeled up was because we went through a lot of mud and it just got up under it, and but I've been extremely surprised by how well the vinyl on top of the spray on bed liner stuck, because it's not a flat surface.
No, I would think it wouldn't stick very well at all.
So it was kind of amazing. So the guys down in San Diego that did it, or Temecula that did it, were amazing. So yeah, there's a plan to do new graphics on the side of this, but it'll probably be more white, and we'll adjust from there.
Oh, okay. Did you ever find that you get overwhelmed with trying to produce?
Wish I did a little bit more content, but I also don't like posting when I don't have a great picture.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what limits me the most. If I don't have what I consider to be a good picture, it ends up on the story or something. You know how that goes. Like if it's not framed correctly, I don't want to put it out there. Like, and I'm not a professional photographer, but I try to have like a decent eye when you're looking at the post that they all kind of work.
Yeah, for me, if it's not brand specific, it ends up on the story reel.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll do a lot of brand stuff on the story reel too, because they'll repost, and it's a lot easier for them to like repost all that. one of the reasons I picked Rockstar Garage was because they do cool events.
Right.
So we're going wheeling for I have to.
Right. No, that sounds super excellent.
So it's
like,
it
sorry, I've got to go
sucks.
pull. I've got to
You're like,
really.
I have to go to like I said, I have to go to Utah. I have to go to, whatever, like Bishop and wheel in the desert and stuff. It's
terrible.
Yeah. So it's one of the reasons I went with them, because their commitments are rad. And on top of that, the other ambassadors are all people that wheel and are doing it not for the sponsorships. They're doing it because he chooses them because of their personalities. And so it's kind of like I get lumped in and brought into this group of people that are just awesome because they've been vetted.
Yeah, that sounds epic. It really does.
So like these are people that are all kind of there for the same. Yeah, we're doing Instagram and stuff, but it's really, for the most part, there's some of them that are like very content driven, but a lot of them are like they just have rad builds, and we're wheeling and as like I said, I don't do rock crawling. I've got a full size truck,
right?
But most of the Rockstar builds are rock crawlers.
Oh, okay.
So I get to jump in. Sometimes they let me scrape their truck up, like their Jeeps up and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah, no, I saw Nate's video of the San Hollow trip.
Yeah.
And that was just super rad. But that was like all Rockstar team right there, right?
It was a lot of Rockstar were there. Like, and then just other other brands and people just they're out wheeling. So like that wasn't just a Rockstar specific one, not that one anyway. That was what was that? That was Trail Hero.
Oh, okay.
So that was like a they do runs on San Hollow and they have a deal with the recreation to like sometimes they're cutting new trails, sometimes they're maintaining trails,
yeah.
So that was an event for Trail Hero that Rockstar was present at.
Oh, okay.
And we were just one of the brands and like our umbrella of brands like under Rockstar.
If we were to step back, if you were to step out of being right inside of the middle of the event, post-event, but how do you think it's changed your life? How do you think it's impacted you beyond the instant fame aspect of everything and beyond the truck? And
it's funny because the instant fame is like the least impactful thing of everything.
Yeah.
Like having the truck, it's I get to drive the Batmobile everywhere. Like that, like that's what it's like. If anything, it can be a hassle at times. Like, right. Especially in the beginning when there was so much attached to it. Now a lot of people, as it gets further away, they just see the truck. They don't know what is the story attached to it.
Right.
Necessarily. In Chico, more so they do. But outside of the area, like I'll get random things. But I think, impactful, like I had to change my career. Like I'd fully, like I said, somebody said control alt delete.
Yeah.
Now what? I was in the job I was going to retire in. I was nine years away from paying our house off. I was, like our kids were like in school and they were going to, everything was like kind of, we had everything figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. You had the recipe book and you were like on the last.
We're on this like trail to like being like, my wife's a nurse. I'm a nurse in California. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So really it's that part. Like now I'm living in an entirely different town, which for me actually was good because all the people I hang out with live in Chico. So all my friends are closer. All my friends, like we go from his house to this park to earlier today I was mountain biking in this park like hours before we hung out today. So I'm just coming back the second time today. And this park is here. Like
it's a beautiful place too.
All the things I do were in Chico.
Right.
I lived and I worked in Paradise, but my life and my living was all in Chico. So that part was great. The hospitals, even closer. I lived 1.5 miles away. I live now like just under 1 mile away from the new hospital. I get to ride my bike to work. I get to skateboard to work. I ride my one wheel to work. I don't have to ride. I don't have to drive.
That sounds fun.
It's awesome. Like, so I have my little adventure on the way to work and back. And, and so I, as much as this truck like sucks down gas, as I don't really drive. I maybe fill it up like outside of like adventures, like when we're going out on a big trip.
Yeah.
I only fill it up like once a month.
Okay.
So yeah, it's terrible gas mileage. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody trying to be eco-friendly. I have my wife has our Prius offset.
Oh, good.
So for me, like it's outside of trauma and like that I'm not gonna say I don't have, like I do.
Right.
Like it's been better.
Oh, okay.
And the instant fame, it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just everything's easier. Like, everything's close. Everything, my kids' schools are close. So minus trauma and minus having to go through all that, like things are what I would consider better.
Yeah.
That's a big asterisk to try to take trauma out of that equation, though, because it was a mess.
And I know we just met, so it's probably like a little bit odd, but how do you think it's made you grow as a person? This event happened and then you had to adjust. So,
there's certain things you learn from it. It's like, but it's like I said before, like everyone knows that, that's probably listening to it only knows me from 6 hours of my life.
right.
So really that's just like a blink, like for me.
Yeah.
So really what it did was like kind of solidify like the preparedness, always having a flashlight on me, like always having like what, like these little decisions I make. Like when I'm wearing my regular pants, I've got a pocket knife on me. There's a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
I've got, like I've got a trauma kit in the truck. I've got little prepared things that I hopefully never get to use. I've got a CCW, but with the plans of never using any of it, but knowing how to use it, being trained to use it, and having those skills and knowledge available. And also, just, as a leader, that doing those right things. Like one of my friends said, nobody wants to do what you did and go through that. And like my other friends and the team up there.
Yeah.
But when I was talking to one of my friends, Jeff, like it was the worst day, but it was also, as a professional and helping people, was the best day. Like a best day of nursing, like you got to use your skills to like some kind of maximum level to protect your patients, your staff, your team, your community.
Yeah.
And so it was more like, okay, we've been doing things right. Like, like, oh, in our lives, we've been making the right decisions. It kind of like just solidified that for us.
Okay.
It's not like we necessarily learned from it. There's things I would do different, like totally. Like if I was ever in a fire like that, stay in the parking lot. Like,
right.
Just, if you're in a parking lot, it's not going to set on fire.
The biggest, emptiest place you can find.
Go to the biggest parking lot you can find and stay in the middle of it. That's that. You won't get a new truck. You won't get but you won't have all the things I had in my brain like after that either.
Yeah.
And I still have. And like just talking to you, I was getting I still get like chills but yeah, I think the biggest thing was like it was almost like just like you've been doing it correctly. Like you've been making the right decisions. Where it seems like overkill to like have these tools on you at all times.
Right.
I know I have several friends that like, oh, I'm carrying a knife on me now. Like I'm like, I have a knife with a seatbelt cutter on it. And everything. And I've actually, even before the fire, like come upon a truck that was flipped over, and I had to cut like his girlfriend out of the car because and get her out, and but I was and but you have this thing that people may never use in their life.
Yeah.
I was excited. I was like, sweet. I almost tried to break the window, but we managed to jimmy the door open. I was like, damn it. But just being prepared, it just kind of solidified that, like, I don't get the weird questions from my wife, like why I do certain way, why I do things the way I do it, why I want these doors locked, why I want safety.
Exactly.
It's so I can go through the rest of my life not worrying, because I am ready to a point. Yeah, I mean, even you telling me about it made me like it was like there's certain things on my Instagram, like there's probably 2 posts where I like wrote a lot, and it was like because people had been asking me the same question, like what was it like at this part, what was it like at this part, and so I wrote, like there was 2 posts, like one was where you could see the fire truck in the front and all the flames, like all the embers everywhere, and I was just like, I wrote about that moment, like of the getting trapped and like whatever, and I think I actually said like what was it like, and then I think there was another one, I can't remember what it was, like where I wrote like, and it was hard to write. My wife was working that night, and she's like, I didn't know you posted that, like because she doesn't really ask me a lot about it.
Oh wow.
Like,
do you find yourself wanting to write a book or anything?
No, I mean, it feels good to write stuff out. I'm surprised I haven't like written any music based on that, but I have this aversion to it defining me. Like if you haven't noticed.
Yeah,
like,
well, because you keep telling me it's only 6 hours of your life.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that
I think
people
that
know.
that particular thing came from, I think, the one interview I did, and I was like, is there anything other cool things you've done in your life? I'm like, of course. Yeah. Dude, I'm 45. I've had like 5 like pretty rad careers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I've been all over the world. I've like, I've raised 2 pretty cool kids, and I'm not just being super dad. Like,
Yeah.
like they're cool people. And they continue to be. And yeah, I'm like, that was 6 hours. 6 hours of making the right decision over and over and over again. And even then, like I told you, I could make a better decision, like stay in the damn parking lot.
It's so weird how those 6 hours of your life was like this whole new trajectory for you. Yeah. Completely different.
But my trajectory is still the same. Like I said, like it's still like family, house, like whatever, and adventures. Yeah. But it gave me this other like little branches I can do every now and then, like this, like getting to meet you and getting to freaking see this thing. Yeah. And like up close, I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. I want to see that. Because you have the flatbed, you have like, you have all these things that I was like, oh, I would love to see that on my truck.
Right.
And, but yeah, it just gave me new branches. Like my life's still the same. I still have the same like group of friends. I've added some, like we'll probably hang out at some point and go wheeling, and like, and Nate, I've hung out with him a couple times, like, and in the Rockstar crew, like, Nick has been like become like a good friend. Even Tyler over Toyota has become like a great friend of mine. We like chat like all week, throughout the week, and there and just the friends I had already. That's coming out of that literally coming out of the fire, and like having them like the love that I already had. I was literally supposed to go the next day. At like that day, I was gonna go home early and finish packing for Joshua Tree. We used to do a yearly trip.
Okay.
Every November we used to, but since then, fire, COVID, like whatever.
Yeah.
And
so weird.
And so we used to do this yearly trip, and so they were about to, we call it the November birthdays, because like 3 of our friends have birthdays in that, and it's just an excuse that we like this group of people I've known from like literally like since some of them I've known since I was 7, to like people I met through high school, grade school, college, whatever, and like we all bring in other people into the group, and the group keeps getting bigger and smaller every year, and we go on we'll go to San Francisco for a week, or we'll go to Boston, or we'll go to like as this big group. Yeah. So, but all of those people like were so supportive, and like, just knowing that I've surrounded myself with good people. It's like, it's kind of like that, knowing I've made these good decisions in my life that help prepare me for these moments. It's like knowing that I've surrounded myself with a good group of people is like how lucky am I?
Yeah, exactly. Have you noticed that your relationships have gotten stronger and deeper?
Yeah, like some of them, and some of them, like, because communications got like harder with certain things, and like, but those people are also the same people that, your friends that you haven't seen in like 2 years, you meet up and you're like, boom, back in. Yeah. So that, so it's been like that too. This build is like kind of along that lines of Australian thing that I love.
Yeah. And it's from what I found, it's pretty unique. It's not so unique anymore, because there's like a lot of double cabs doing the same thing. But as far as like a 3rd gen Crew Max, I think it's still the only one.
Yeah, I wanted like this, just flatbed. I didn't want, not the 4-wheel camper, as nice as that is. I wanted like a much simpler, like the canopies or like nothing. Like, when I took all this stuff off, because I drove too hard for that rack, because it was the first version. Now it's got the cross bracing and stuff, so it won't happen again. Right. But so I had to take that off to repair it, and the tent and everything else. I was driving just this monster truck, pickup truck, and it was so much fun. Oh yeah. And just to be able to drive around all stripped down and stuff was super cool.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it looks like a fun truck to drive and just romp.
Oh, it's fun. But I wish, I wish I had like long travel and stuff, so I could like really suck up the bumps and stuff, and more. Because I already do it like that. It kind of has a little bit of a lean in the back, if you can't tell, because I've flattened out the leaf springs in the back. Because I think when we did our math for the expedition weight, we didn't include some big things like the deck system and the tent. So there's like 400 or 500 pounds not accounted for. Okay, yeah. So that's sense. One, we got to redo it, and it's like you kind of learn, and do it again.
Yeah. Like, what do you think has shaped you the most outside of those 6 hours?
What do you mean? Having to do
Like,
it? Oh, I
like
don't
you
know.
know, the fire. You know, let's just take that out of the
Well,
equation.
without fire, like if there was no fire and you were meeting me now, it's like you wouldn't be meeting a different person.
Yeah, but I mean,
like,
so for me, some of the things that shaped me was like I moved to Hawaii when I was 18, and I kind of stepped into manhood while I was living over there, and then I moved back at like 24, 25. I can't remember. Right before I met my wife, and so I would say like that was a defining moment in my life of just stepping into becoming a man and taking responsibility for the actions that I made.
I don't know. I think it's incremental with me. Like every new job or every new skill I learn or everything has kind of shaped it. Like
Yeah.
going out to sea definitely had or doing the training actually to go out to sea.
Okay.
And that type of leadership and like seeing that all come into play from what my dad taught me. He was an officer in the Navy and he was a doctor, an OBGYN.
Oh, wow.
And so just being this like safe, self-made man from like super poor in Brooklyn to like doing really well in Southern California and also being in the Navy and being able to retire out of it and
Right.
as an 06 and him always constantly kind of not being the nicest person ever, but that generation, he was doing his best.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff, like making decisions in my life, like going to the maritime school and instead of going to UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
That was a big defining moment. Like as much as I really wanted to go to the other one, that would have been way more fun and way more debaucherous. Like, I did make certain decisions in my life that definitely steered it.
Yeah. So you definitely took like the self-made from what your dad taught you on how to be a self-made person and took that to heart and made yourself more.
I don't know, define it. The things that define me, I'm doing mini definitions all the time. There's no big moments, and including the fire is not a big moment for me. If anything, it just kind of snapped me and trying to rebuild from it. It didn't I didn't remember things well for a long time. I didn't, I was literally like seeing things that weren't there, like fire and stuff. And it took me like months to feel like I was like close to normal.
Oh, wow.
I just wasn't built for that. I had a really good set of friends and I did a little bit of therapy and like I said, these mountain biking, like when we ride hard and then we'll stop and like chat.
Okay.
We'll ride hard and we'll stop and chat. So it's like hanging out too.
Yeah, exactly.
And I work out with some of these people too. So fitness is big for me because it keeps my brain settled. Because I said, I have my own personally diagnosed ADD.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just try to keep moving and try to keep doing fun things. People they're like, oh, are you ever going to grow up? I'm like, it hasn't really worked out for other people. I'm like,
no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for letting me get to know you a little bit. It's been fantastic to have you here. We can find him at _Pandra on Instagram. I'll leave a link down below in the description so you can find him also. We really appreciate you being on the show, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Good chatting.
Jeez. Thank you so much. This has been an honor. I really enjoy seeing you.